All right, so I'm making this video just to kind of show what the reason would be that you would rebuild your shifter on a Miata. Now, my Miata is a first generation Miata. It's a NA6. It's got the 1.6 liter engine. And right off the bat, one of the reasons that you would want to rebuild your shifter is obviously if the car's got a lot of miles on it, like mine obviously has about 150,000 miles on it. But more than anything, if you see a lot of play in your shifter, so like if you have it in gear, and you can see right here, it's got a lot of play just the way it is right now. So if it just wiggles a lot when you're in gear, even when you're out of gear, if it just moves around a lot, that's going to be a big reason why you'd want to rebuild your shifter. Additionally, if you find it hard to shift into particular gears, that would be a reason too. So I went on Moss Miata, and luckily they were having a sale, and I got a shifter rebuild kit. Now this kit normally goes, this is the upgraded kit. This kit normally goes for a little over $100, I think like $104, $110. It was on sale for $89, and the stuff that you get with it, you get the upper insulator, dust boot, you get all the required bushings, flanges and whatnot for the inside. You get the lower insulator, and then this is what makes it the upgraded. This comes with the brass bushing, which this is supposed to be on the bottom of the shifter, but normally it comes with the plastic one. Now this one actually comes with the plastic one as well. That's the plastic one. But the upgraded one is this brass bushing, which this will essentially last forever. So the shifting will be a lot cleaner, it's going to be easier, and it's just going to feel a whole lot better. Now, to get this going, I've already taken apart most of it. I took off my center console, so just to make it look a little bit cleaner until I get the carpet. But if you have the center console, no big deal. Super easy. Open up the back here, the compartment. There's two screws. You can see the two screws right there. Take those two out, and then normally under the cup holder there's another screw. You take that one out right there, and then up here there's going to be a screw here on the side and a screw on the other side as well. You take all these screws out, then you don't forget to take off the shift knob. Forgot about that. But once you take all those screws out, it essentially lifts, the whole console lifts from the front, and then you kind of slide it forward because you actually have to get past this right here. Now I 3D printed this right here, so which is why this is here. But then the whole thing slides off, and then you have access to the upper dust boot. So this right here, there's only 4 10mm screws that go into this thing right here. That's what they look like. And they're not like super tight or anything like that. They're just, basically hand tight. You take those 4 out, and then normally a lot of times this is just like super on. So what I did is I took some WD-40, just kind of sprayed it, and then it just slid off super easy. Now, if you're not going to reuse this, like I'm probably not going to reuse it since the new kit has a new one, you can just clip these little white clips right here, and it'll come right off. So anyway, you take that off, comes off right there, and then there's your shifter. Again, I already took off the screws right here, but it's essentially going to be the same thing. So on here there are 3 10mm screws holding that thing together. Where are they? So these are the bolts holding that one together, and again, super easy. They're not like super tight or hard to get on or off. But then once you take those off, then the whole thing comes off. And then what it's supposed to look like is when you pull this off, on the bottom of this shifter, on the shifter ball right here, that is where the plastic bushing is supposed to be. Also, this is supposed to be filled with gear oil. Now mine does not have the plastic bushing on there. It does not have oil in there. So it's kind of no wonder why it was not shifting that well. More than likely, I would hope that one of the previous owners, if they redid this, that the plastic bushing just disintegrated and they didn't just forget to put it in. However, it clearly looks like they did not put gear oil in there. You must put gear oil in here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take this piece off right here, this upper rubber bushing. Just take that off, and then we'll put the brass bushing on, and yeah, we'll go forward from there. So, sorry, it's kind of hard to do with one hand, but I already went ahead and took the pieces off that you saw earlier. So this is the lower dust boot or insulator boot, whatever you want to call it. A lot of times this is just going to be a huge pain in the butt to get off, but obviously since we've got a new one right here, no need to save this one. So I just took a razor, like a box cutter, just cut it up there, and then it just slides up this way. Spray some WD-40 or something like that, some sort of lubricant, and it'll come off really easy. Took off the lower, or the upper bushing, sorry, and then took off this little piece right here. So that little piece is literally right there. Just take a small flathead and it just comes right out right there. And then I took some brake cleaner and then just kind of cleaned it up, and it's kind of hard to see, but definitely some wear and tear on this shifter. You can see some grooves in it, especially right there, probably because the bushing wasn't there. Some grooves up here too, not as bad as I thought it was, but definitely some pretty hardcore grooves right there. Hopefully the new bushing will help out with that. So now the other part of this is in here. There is this little bushing right there. It's on the inside. And sorry, so a lot of times all you got to do, it's right here. It's a little ring right there. You can kind of see it's moving. Lift up from the back. There you go, and that's it. And drop the little ring right there. There you go. That's it. So you take these pieces out. And that's it. Now all you got to do is you just install all this stuff in the reverse order. So we'll put the bushing on there last. So now all you do is you just install things in the reverse order. So we're going to put these bushings on first. Now you got to make sure you get the right one. It's kind of self-explanatory because the one that we pulled from the transmission has this huge notch in it. Trying to work on that focus. It's got this huge little notch in it right there, so that one obviously goes to the transmission. And then this is the other one right here, which this one also has a notch too. It's just not as big as the other one. So we just installed things in the reverse order. So again, just a rundown of the pieces that you get in the new kit. The old one had 2 notches, but the new one, they don't have, one has a notch, one does not have a notch. The one that does have the notch, that is the piece that goes into the transmission itself. The one that does not have a notch on it is the one that goes on the top of the shifter. So this one's going to go here. And then obviously it has these little ring pieces. You just fit them into the grooves. And then there's an extra ring piece right here, which that one goes on the top. Sorry, that one goes on the top of the one that goes up here. So you got the toothed one that fits in right here, which that'll be on the bottom. And then you've got the regular one, which will go on here because that's going to make the seal with the lower dust boot. And then you just put this on this way, and then the last thing you do is you put in the bushing down there, and then obviously you got to put the transmission pieces in there. And so yeah, we'll put it all together. All right, so everything is installed in reverse order. Got the lower dust boot on, got the rings on. This dust boot was an absolute pain in the butt. So what I would suggest is spraying with some WD-40. You can wipe it off later. Spraying some WD-40, man, that thing just slid right on, no problem. Now the brass fitting, you can see it's already in there, and then got that ring as well. So now I'm going to fill this up with some gear oil. And the gear oil that you're supposed to use, let's see if I can find it. There it is. So 75/90. I know everyone says you can use what's it called, unicorn tears, which you can do a search on it. But man, that stuff is super crazy expensive. It's like $30 for just this thing. This thing was I think like 11. It's full synthetic. It's Valvoline. I use Valvoline in basically all my cars, and I also use it in my oil change for my Miata as well. I'm not going to be doing any kind of racing or anything, so there's no need to use anything that's super crazy expensive. But now what we're going to do is we're going to fill this up, and what you do is you fill it up basically to the bottom ring right here. So you just fill it up to basically the bottom part of this ring, and then just put the shifter back in. Use the 10mm bolts that you took out initially. Now you're supposed to torque them down, but it's something like, if I remember correctly, it was something like 40 something foot-pounds or maybe like 30 something foot-pounds, so it's not a lot. So if you have a torque wrench, you can do that. Otherwise, if you don't have a torque wrench, just do it till they're pretty snug. But I mean, you don't need to totally crank on this thing. But then yeah, just install things in the reverse order. All right, and this is your finished product. So put the dust boot back on, obviously put the shifter knob back on. I put my my blanking plate here, which again, I 3D printed this, so you know, you obviously have the center console, but filled it up with gear oil. This is my delete plate. But man, this thing feels so much better just already. It's crazy. I mean, before, I mean, this is a neutral, and look, I mean, that sucker's not going anywhere. I mean, I can still shift it, obviously, you know, left and right. But before, I mean, it was just flopping around. It's crazy. So, I mean, and now shifting into, like, you know, all my gears, man, it just slams into place. I mean, no play whatsoever. And then so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whoops, and then reverse. So hands are still a little greasy. But man, I mean, I can't believe how much better that feels shifting through all the gears. So I can't wait to really take this out. And I just drove it around because I also did a rear differential oil change and changed the oil in the transmission as well. Just around the block just to make sure everything was good to go, no leaks, and so far everything's good. But man, I mean, what a difference already. So yeah, once this breaks in a little bit more, I'm sure it'll be even better. But yeah, so again, that's how to do a shifter rebuild on a 5-speed NA Miata. I want to say that the NA6, NA8, and I want to say even the NBs are all very similar. Basically, as long as it's the 5-speed, that's how it's going to be. The 6-speeds are a little bit different. I do want to say maybe the NBs have maybe like a couple extra parts, but for the most part, NA6s, NA8s, all going to be the same as long as it's a 5-speed. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, leave them down below.